Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Soccer Hub Talks. My name is Nuno Milheiro, and I'm a soccer scout and also Soccer Hub's head of commercial and partnerships. Soccer Hub, as you know, is an online platform for soccer scouts, soccer analysts, soccer coaches. So just visit us and get to know all our courses. So today we have a very special guest that is a former US international player that for sure all of you guys remember. We'll be talking a bit more in detail about his past in soccer and also about the position that he was on the pitch where he were playing for most of his career, center back. So before we start, I would like to ask you guys to click on the like button if the audio and the video is okay. So, and also please introduce some information about yourself, such as the country where you are based at, and also your job in football in the chat box. Also to remind you that this is a live conversation, so please feel free to ask your questions to our guests in the chat box also. So let's start. So, as I said, we have a very successful former player, Oguchi ONYEWU. So, welcome, Oguchi. Thank you very much for being here with us.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me.
No, it's my pleasure. Especially you've been preparing. Your background is fantastic. So, guys, you can see there, you can see there pictures of Oguchi playing for Sporting Lisbon. So, during his career, Oguchi represented several different clubs. One of them was Sporting Lisbon, and but he also represented Standard Liège, Newcastle United, AC Milan, and Philadelphia Unions, where he finished his career. Just to mention some of them. So Oguchi also played an impressive number of 69 matches for the US national team, scoring 6 goals. Not bad for a center back, no? Almost 10% of the matches he's been scoring. So that's great. Oguchi played 2 World Cups with the US national team and contributed directly for his nation to win 3 Gold Cups. If any of this information is wrong, please tell me, okay? So as you can see, we are in the presence of a true champion. You guys are here to hear Oguchi, not to hear me. So let's start. Oguchi, again, thank you very much for accepting the invitation in such a kind way. And it's a big honor and privilege for me because, like I had the opportunity to tell you, I always admired you inside and outside the pitch. So thank you again. And so let's start. Can you tell us a bit more about your current projects after you finished your career? Also, if you are still linked to soccer in this case, and please talk and promote your podcast. That is great that you have with the Marcus Beasley.
Yeah, I'm doing a lot of different things since I was retired in 2017, 18, I believe it was. I received my coaching license. I graduated university with a business degree. I created a podcast. My company Onyx formed that. So I'm doing a lot of things. I was the sporting director in the second division in soccer in Orlando. So definitely trying to remain in the game. I think that I have a lot to contribute with my experience, with my education, and with my foresight to help improve this current generation of players, whether it be here in America or overseas, as I have 3 different passports that I can utilize anywhere in the world.
Yeah, sure. And also you speak several languages. At least you are fluent in 3 languages, I believe.
Yeah. So I speak French, obviously, with my Belgium nationality. I have a Nigerian passport and obviously American passport, so I can communicate in French, English, Spanish, and with the Spanish, more or less Portuguese.
Yeah, exactly. So basically you can work anywhere in the world, so what is great. So yeah, it's a proof that also the languages are very important, and also the education that you've been investing in education after you finish your career And so did you have, it was very clear in your head what you wanted to do after finishing the career? Did you start to prepare early on your early days, or not so long ago?
Yeah, no, my family is really big on education. So I have a sister who's a PhD, MD. My older brother has his doctorate degree. My younger brother and older sister are engineers. So education was always big in my family. And they always expressed the importance of knowing that football doesn't last forever, and you have to have other passions, other interests afterwards. So for me, it was always entrepreneurship, business, organizational things, administration. So ultimately, what I see myself doing in remaining in football is, running a club, running a professional club, whether it be here in America or in Europe, and essentially having the role of whether it be sporting director, general manager, technical director, something like that. I really enjoy creating chemistry, creating an atmosphere, creating a culture. I've been doing it for 4 years here, performing and organizing a professional combine every year to help players, get exposure to clubs and to teams and to agents here in America. So I'd really love to. And also I was doing that when I was a sporting director for Orlando. So I'd love to do that on a bigger stage. I think that obviously my unique player experience, as well as some of my strengths, whether that be in multiple languages, whether that be in business education, would really help me. So I'm just looking forward to the future. I think last year was a hard year for everybody.
Yeah.
I took advantage of it in finalizing, my coaching license, my university. I tried to make the most out of a rough year and get the benefits from it.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. That's fantastic. Like you answered many things there, and I was gonna touch the point that you touched. That is very interesting. That you are, you are closer to success when you invest also in education, like you said, and also in the languages. So you have all the skills to be successful, and I'm sure that you will be. And I will be here also to, to have the chance to follow also your career outside the pitch, like I followed all your career inside the pitch, and I'm sure you have the same success or even more outside of it.
Nice.
So guys, I didn't forget. So usually before we start to talk about your great career as a player, so to the people that usually watch us, and they already know, usually I do like I'm a soccer scout, so I do like some kind of profile of the how you were as a player, or of my guests, how they were as players. But in this case, in your case, I have a surprise for you. I think it's a big surprise for you, because I left that part to someone that was many times by your side at the defense line. So. Or at least you wished him to be many times. So here it goes for you.
Hey Gooch, how are you? It's been a while, my friends, but I remember our moments on the field together just like they were yesterday. You were a top player, fantastic teammates, and somebody who I loved playing aside from, because I knew if everything went down on that field, you'd have my back. Literally the strongest person I've ever played with. So it was a pleasure and an honor to play with you. I think what you've done post-career has been extremely impressive as well. You stayed on the ball, got your degree. Speaks volumes about you as a person, but things I already knew. I hope soon that our paths will cross again. Maybe on the field, obviously on the sidelines now, no longer active, but I wish you all the best for the future. Continue your greatness and on and off the field. And like I said, hope to see you soon, buddy. Take care.
Sorry, sir. So we have the great Steve Cherondolo.
Stevie is a legend. He's a legend, not just in American soccer, but in German soccer, that was a great surprise. That was honestly, I wasn't expecting that, but Stevie, coming from him, that means everything because he was the definition of a true professional, as a person and as a player. So that was awesome. That meant a lot. I appreciate that.
That's okay. That's my pleasure. These small things, and like you said, we went through a hard year, and we are still in that part. So these small things make the difference, and I'm happy that I made you smile and I made you surprised. And Steve is fantastic. Thanks, Steve. I know he's gonna watch this. I'm sure about it. So I'm gonna now. In return, I'm gonna ask you one thing. So he said that you were covering his back all the time. So were you many times upset with him because he was going up on the pitch many times and you were calling him, or you didn't, or you didn't have to?
I will tell you, and this is not even because he said all those great things. Stevie was one of the easiest outside backs on either side to play with because he did his job. He attacked, he defended. He made my job easy. He made me look good all the time because he was so good at his position. So yeah, he was amazing to play with, and I have no bad memories of playing next to Stevie ever.
Of course. Thank you, and Stevie, our regards to you, of course, and thanks for this surprise. So, and we are in touch all the time. So let's start. So I believe he was generous, but he was honest also to talk about you. I believe that the things he said, they are spot on. So can you please share with us how it all started to you? Was it soccer always your first option? Did you practice any other sports in your youth?
Yeah, I mean, in America, especially in the 1980s, you played every sport. Soccer wasn't as popular as it is now. So, excuse me, I grew up playing basketball, soccer, running track, and at that point, everybody wanted to be like Michael Jordan. So I wanted to play basketball. I wanted to do that, and I was pretty good at basketball, but I was excelling a lot quicker in soccer. And so around the age of 14, 15, I had to make the decision because I couldn't divide my time to both of them. I had to concentrate on one or the other. And I decided to concentrate on soccer. And, from there, made the youth national teams, went to university and went to France for my first professional contract, and kind of excelled from there on.
Yeah, that's thank you for sharing, and thank you for choosing soccer. And one thing that comes, this is a conversation that's why it's interesting. So I saw this, I didn't prepare this part. I saw that you did one of your podcasts was with Alexi Lalas. Yeah.
Right. Yep.
That was a center back, and he was the legend from the times where soccer started, to be more popular in the US, and especially with the World Cup '94, that we were young at the time, but for me it was the best World Cup ever. Fantastic organization, everything. Was he also an inspiration for you to become a center back, or
Alexi?
Yeah.
To be honest, he was not. My inspiration. Okay. When I was younger, from that 1994 World Cup team was it was always Eddie Pope.
Okay.
For me, whenever I saw Eddie Pope play, I saw myself what I could be. Because especially in soccer at that time, there wasn't a lot of black role models.
Yeah.
That you could model yourself after. So I saw Eddie as a defender, and I'm like, hey, I can do that. I can be like that. And so he was really my kind of jumpstart in my mind in terms of dreaming of what I could essentially become. And then in 2006, it all came, 360 degrees full circle when I was able to play next to him in the World Cup. Yeah, I played next to Eddie in the World Cup in Germany. So, it was from a little kid who wanted to be like him to now being his teammate. It was definitely amazing.
Okay, okay. And you never thought to be attacking player as Kobe Jones, for example?
Yeah, I mean, everybody wants to be an attacking player, right?
Yeah, yeah,
So everybody wants to have that goal scorer recognition, and because all the attacking players get, they get all
yeah.
the attention. But for me, it was I was my position, my strength was to be a defender, and I didn't mind that. So I embraced it, and I tried to be the best defender that I could be for myself.
Yeah, true. The attacking players usually they take more credits, but the leadership usually is behind. It's there in the defense, so it's very
Exactly.
important. Starts from the goalkeeper to.
They
So,
say attacking players win games, but defenders win championships.
oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, I heard it and I agree completely. And many coaches in these days they say that you need to start to build a team from behind. So
Exactly.
for sure. So. Do you think the other sports that you practice it, especially basketball, like you said, where you were stronger, and do you think it helped also to your skills to become like the professional player that you became in soccer?
I think playing anything or doing anything kind of adds attributes and strengths to your games. Um, I feel like sports now is so much more specialized, so kids are focused on things, and ultimately their muscle memory, they don't have the same advantages that we had, right? Growing up, where you had movements in soccer that helped me in basketball, and you had movements in basketball that helped me in soccer, or
Yeah,
or vice versa, or even American football for that matter. I am one that says, and this is my opinion, that a soccer player can be an all-around athlete. So you see soccer players that can play basketball, you see
yeah,
soccer players that can play American football, but you don't see a lot of basketball players that can play soccer,
that's
or American football players that can play soccer. There might be one or two here and there, but I think soccer players have a universal advantage to play other sports more so than those sports can play soccer.
Yeah, that's true. I agree completely with you, and we have several examples of players from other sports that try to play soccer, even if it's like futsal or five-a-side, or it's hard to adapt. It's not so easy. And of course we have Usain Bolt that he was playing, but I think you can run the 100 meters, not in 9 seconds, but it's hard to adapt. Of course it is, and yeah, it's a very complete sport. So in terms, we are here to talk about your specific position of center back. Did you always play in that position, like you saying that your role model? So pretty much you already answered, because your role model was Nick Pope, and was a center back, and you always wanted to play in defense. So, but have you ever tried to play in attack, or
So I was so Eddie Pope was my inspiration as a
yeah.
defender, but I was actually formed as a right back like Steve Cherundolo. Uh,
Okay,
so I played right back from age 14. I signed professionally in France as a right back.
okay,
And after my first year in France, the coach, whose name was Jean Fernandez,
yeah,
who later ended up coaching at Marseille and other clubs, he told me, he said, "I see you as a central defender." And I said, "Nope, no, I'm a right back. I'm an outside back. This is when I was a lot less big.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
and I told him, I know I'm a right back. I'm a right back. And then, you know, he was right. Obviously, I was I was a better served on the professional game as right back. And I feel that at that time I felt I was a right defender because I wasn't playing at a level that a professional level that it allowed me to be a right defender.
Okay.
At a lower level, I could do what I wanted to do on the right side. But as you raise the level and you raise the level of competition, and your opponents are stronger and smarter, for me, it was more central defender, and my physical attributes and my mental attributes and my communication on the field, and my influence on the team was better served in the middle than out wide.
Yeah, for sure, and we are happy for that, and Stevie is also happy for that. Otherwise, he, maybe he was not playing so much, and also from your side, so you had a direct competition with him. So, in your opinion, what were your stronger skills, and also what kind of center back did you prefer to have by your side, especially when you play on with 4 defenders and with 2 center backs?
Right.
What that you believe that completes you, like in terms of skills?
That's a hard one, because I've played with I've played on the right, and I've played on half my career I was on the right, half my career I was on the left, so it all depends on where. I was really fortunate when I was younger in Belgium to be paired when I was young with experienced central defenders. So in my early days at Liège, my left side central defender was Ivica Dragotinovic, who played with the Serbian national team. He won multiple Europa Leagues with Sevilla. He really taught me how to be a better defender in terms of my positioning, communication. And then when he left, the next person that came was George Costa, who was who was even he's a legend. George Costa is a legend. And
do you remember his nickname in Portuguese?
I don't remember his nickname in Portuguese. No. What was it?
Bicho.
It makes sense. It makes sense. But
in England, sorry to interrupt you. He played in Charlton for half season, I believe. You also played for Charlton.
Yeah, I played for Charlton
later on, of course, later on.
Yeah,
but he was called the Tank, and also because I'm trying to interview him, but he have his schedule is hard because I admired him a lot, and he was a very strong defender.
Yeah, for sure.
Like you were saying, so. Already 2 great players by your side, Dragotinovic and then George Costa.
So it helped me, and they taught me, because as you get older, you don't have the physical, so you have the mental. So your mind thinks more than your body moves. And when you're younger, it's the opposite. You don't have the mental, so you have the physical. So it was a good combination of me being able to play with both of them. And so when I got older, I understood more things. And so for me, I didn't mind any teammate I played with as long as they worked hard, right? And that they could communicate well. So I've, in the national team, I've played with, Eddie Pope, I've played with Bocanegra, I've played with countless other players. And then in club, I played with Anderson Polga, I played with Daniel Carrizo in sport team. I've played with, like I told you, the other players at Lisbon, at Newcastle, with a bunch of other players too. So for me, it's all about the effort you give. And for everybody knows, when I played, I left it all on the field. I gave 100%, whether it was good or bad. You knew that I was giving everything I had that day. And so for any teammate around me, that's what I expect at the time when I was playing. That's what I expected for them to do as well.
Yeah, for sure. And you also played with great players at AC Milan, no? So that you played with Alessandro Nesta, you played with Calarze, you played with fantastic defenders. That for sure you've been learning also a lot with them, and they've been learning also a lot with you for sure. So do you think, we all know that the center back's performance is directly linked to all the defensive line, especially with your other center back in this case. So do you agree that sometimes your performance depends a lot on what all the defensive line does, or not so much?
I think a team's performance depends on the team, right? So it's not just the defensive line that defends, and it's not just the offensive line that attacks. It's a unit of 11 players, and so if the midfield and the offense aren't doing their defensive jobs, it makes the defensive responsibilities a lot harder. And also, if the defense and the midfielder are not doing their offensive jobs, it makes the attacking jobs so much more difficult. So it's also a unison, it's a tangent, it's a community. So you always have to work together. The best teams you see, they don't look just for the strikers to score goals. They just don't look for the defenders to stop goals. Liverpool is a prime example last year that everyone, it was a collective effort up and down the field, which is why they were so successful.
Yeah, you said everything now, and it's true. And the first now, the modern football, the strikers are the first ones to defend, and also the defenders are the first ones to attack. Not even the goalkeeper, even the goalkeeper is the first one to attack in these days, or to make a long pass.
Yep.
So the things, so the things changed. Oguchi, can you? So you are there. So the football changed, and then you said everything. So it's not all about the defensive line. So everybody plays as a team. So we have here a question from Mario. Mario, thank you first of all for your question. So the question is, I know Oguchi, which soccer or coach manager left the best impact on you during your career, and why?
Man, I've played with a lot. The coach that I did very, very well with, and I remember, his name was Laszlo Bologna. And I think his last job was in Antwerp now in Belgium, but he was also at Monaco. I think he might have been at Sporting as well.
He was the last champion at Sporting.
Yeah, right. And so he really helped me understand the game and improve on a professional level at Liège. So when he came to Liège, we had already won the championship the year before. And he helped me understand that in order for the last year's championship to mean something, I needed to do it again to substantiate what we did. And it's very difficult, as everyone knows, to win 2 championships in a row. It's difficult to win 1 championship.
Yeah.
But 2 championships in a row, it's very difficult. And he took that responsibility, and he took that team that we had, and he was able to successfully win the championship. And that was the last time that Liège has won a championship. Since then, in 2009, was it? Yeah, we won in 2008 and 2009. So, he was very influential in terms of my understanding of the game and my progression moving forward.
Okay, yeah, it's very important, and you are the second one to mention him. I had the chance also to interview the great Marius Nicolai. That is a great guy, and he also had a big influence from Laszlo Bologna, and of course all the Sporting Lisbon fans love him because he was the last coach to lead the club to the championship. Yeah. So, like you said, that's great. Thank you for your answer, and Marius, thank you for your question also. So let's keep moving on. So in terms, do you think, how important do you find that the communication is between in this case, of course it's with all the team, but with your teammates that are closer to you are the defensive players, of course. How do you think, how important do you think it's the communication in that terms? It's important that all of you are on the same page during the match to avoid collective mistakes, including, for example, the offside trap. That is important. Of course, you train that during the week, but do you think it's important also to communicate well during the game?
I mean, I think communication is always important in football, especially in modern football. But sometimes it's understanding each other, because sometimes you're playing in a stadium and you can't hear each other speak. So you have to be able to understand what the cues are, etc. And in football, I always tell my players that it's important that you move as a unit. Like the back line, they always have to move it. It's not just one player; it's 4 players moving as a unit. And so I think that's the most important thing: to understanding the strengths of your player is very important. I tell my players, I said, it's not just the pass that you're giving, it's who you're giving the pass to, right? So, for example, if a player has he has the defender on his back. Some players play well like that. Some players don't play well like that.
Yeah.
So you have to know who you're giving the ball to and where you're giving the ball as well. So it's an understanding, it's a communication, it's all those factors together. Some players play better at their feet. Some players don't play better at their feet. Some players, if you give the ball in a certain situation, you're going to get punished. Some players know how to get themselves out of tight situations. So I think it's understanding the game of football, understanding your players. It's a collection of all those things.
Yeah, for sure. So pretty much when we are playing, of course you get a lot of information in these days about your opponents and everything, but it's also very important to start from inside, so you know very well your teammates, like you said, and you do like a bit of a scouting, of a scout's job, to analyze your colleagues, to understand the weaker points or not, even like if they are being pressing by the opponent, if you can do the pass or not, or if you pass to the right foot, left foot, small things that they can make the difference. So it's important for you to be alert, to understand the qualities and the skills that they have. So you played also in several different leagues. Can you please tell us or share with us which one you found harder to adapt in general terms, and the game style, the style of playing also, because the different leagues have different styles of playing,
Right.
and also the one that you believe that you fitted as a glove, that you
All right.
Yeah.
So I would say the two which were, I guess, the most difficult or took time to adapt to for me were, for different reasons, was England and Spain.
Okay.
England was the reasons. Probably when I went to Newcastle, I was young. I was 24, and it was a faster game than Belgium, right?
Yeah.
So I needed time to adapt to the speed. A lot of, at that time in England, it was a lot of, the game speed was so fast because you didn't really play with the midfield.
Yeah. Like they say, kick and rush, no?
It was almost that way, but it was a very fast-paced game, and I feel that at 24 years old, 25, I needed time to adapt, and unfortunately, I didn't have that time to adapt. In Spain, it was more so the fact that the Spanish style, which was fine, the two-touch, one-touch was fine, but more physical. They're not a physical style of play. So for a player like me, I don't feel like I'm fouling a player by having contact, but in Spain, they fall and it's a foul.
Yeah.
And it was very frustrating for me in the games and training for there to be, that contact was seen as a foul. And anywhere else in the world that I played, it was not a foul. So I think those were the biggest adjustments in those two leagues. The league that I truly enjoyed playing the most in was Portugal. I enjoyed it. I think that it fit me very well. I adapted very quickly to the league and to the club in sporting. I think I had 6 goals in the first year that I was there in all competitions. So I adapted very well, and unfortunately, I didn't stay as long as I wanted to, but I don't think that had anything to do with me. It was it was more so with what was going on with the ownership and the front office. We know it was quite a mess, but I truly enjoyed my time in Portugal.
That's great to know. Thank you for sharing that with us. Do you think that a big part of the player's performance is directly connected with the adaptation process of the playing style of the league, the adaptation to the country, the culture, the climate, the training methods, relationship with the teammates, and with the coach's ideas?
Yeah, I think a player's adaptation is everything, right?
Yeah.
If you look at a player like, let's say, Carlos Tevez, unbelievable player, but it took him time to adapt to England when he was at West Ham. It didn't happen immediately. It took him a whole season before he started to understand. And if a player like him takes that long, imagine anybody else how long they take. And so I think it's a consequence of different playing environments. Obviously, climate plays a big role. If you're not used to cold weather, sometimes you're not going to adapt well. And I just think, generally speaking, as a player, you play your best when you're happy. And so for every player, happiness comes in different forms, right? Whether it's my family is secure, or I'm playing all the time, or I'm scoring goals, or, you know, everybody's happiness is different. So I think, generally speaking, when you're comfortable, when you're happy, you're going to see that players play their best kind of football.
Yeah, for sure. I would say everything in life, no, when you do something that you are happy to do, and I'm lucky because I can choose the people that I interview, so make me happy, of course, to speak with people that I admire. So like you said, when you are happy with what you do, the things go better for you, and the results are better, for sure. So we never had many communication problems, in, like you said, in terms of especially the defensive line, also because you speak different languages, and like you said, inside the stadium, well, you had a chance to play in stadiums that were full, 60,000, 70,000 people. So I'm sure that even if they speak in English, you don't have the chance to understand them. But some other players, you don't need to speak. You only need to look at them, and the eyes say everything. And that's why the people say that you can play with the eyes closed with some players, and some others you can know them very well or communicate very well, but you don't understand so well in that term. So as a center back, you faced and you played along with some of the most efficient and almost unstoppable strikers of all time. Did you ever learn? Did you learn a lot with them? With the ones that you played along, also, especially, were you communicating a lot with them and sharing ideas, giving some tips to them and them to you, and yeah, did that happen or not so often?
I mean, you communicate as a teammate, right? But I don't think that myself, I could give any kind of advice to Ronaldinho. And I don't think he's going to give me advice about defending either. But there was always a collaboration with all your teammates in regards to what should each of you do to make the team better, not necessarily the individual better.
Yeah.
So when your focus is on the team and not just yourself, I think you're going to get better results, better outcomes.
Okay, so yeah, that's completely true, because that's something. Sometimes you cannot get advice. It's just to be alert, and observe. And I'm sure that in trainings with Ronaldinho, for example, you could watch many things, and inside of your head there was many strategies to try to stop him, and for sure on his head were many strategies to try to pass, so
yeah, I mean, I remember once, what's his name, the coach for Sporting, when I signed, his name was Domingos Pacienza, I think.
Yeah, I had a chance to interview him already, Domingos.
And in the first month that I was in Sporting, I wasn't playing, and he wasn't playing me, and I wasn't even in the 18. And I remember I had a conversation with him. I wanted to meet with him, and I said, I should be playing. I feel that I'm stronger than your other defenders. Why am I not playing? And I was in his office, and I remember this. I'll never forget this conversation. And he told me, he said, maybe you are better. He said, but it's not my job to put the best players on the field. And I'm thinking, I'm looking at him. I'm like, of course it's your job to put the best players on the field. And he responds, he said, it's not my job to put the best players on the field. It's my job to put the best team on the field. So you could be the best player in your position, but if you don't play best in the pair with the other central defender, you're not good for the team. And that conversation immediately changed my mindset about how I should perform, because a lot of times players feel I'm better, I'm this, and they don't think about how you can serve the team. And so in that instance, he did me a favor and he made me change my mind. Okay, how can I be better for the team? How do I put myself in a place that I can help the team with my qualities? And from that point forward, I think I had one, once I started playing at Sporting, I didn't stop. I played the whole season. And that conversation changed my whole season. It changed my whole outlook and my mindset for the rest of my career.
That's fantastic, and it's fantastic. Thank you for sharing, first of all, and that's fantastic, because it's like learning is an endless process. So at the time you already were experienced player, but that changed also something. So if you are always open to learn, it's never late to learn. And like you said, that conversation, you still remember it, was important for you. It changed something, and you were not like 18 or 19, that you are in a young age. You were already experienced player with playing in big clubs, and you are also open to listen his opinion, and that's also important. So thank you for sharing that, and for sure, I'm sure Domingos is gonna listen, and he will be happy also with that. So in terms of strikers, okay, can you share with us what were the strikers that were causing you insomnias well, on the days before, or either in training or on the matches, players that you played along with? And
there was no striker that really scared me, because I kind of created my career of trying to be intimidating to the strikers and not the other way around, right? So I would always try to leave a game having won any of my individual battles with any strikers. Obviously, I've played with some amazing and against some amazing strikers. I would say the striker that I was impressed with in terms of his ability most was Cristiano.
okay,
For me, I was just impressed with his explosiveness, his speed, his strength. He has a lot of different qualities that you don't see in one player, right?
Yeah.
Some players have one or two of them, and he had just all these qualities that he was able to use whenever he wanted to. So that was, to my day, probably the most difficult attacker that I played up against.
Yeah, thank you for that. And we have here another question from Robson Augusto from Brazil. Robson is asking, what do you think about the MLS in general terms? Let's say, I believe that he's asking if it's the improvement of the MLS.
Yeah, the MLS, of course, it's improving from when it started. I would think it would have to improve. I think it started with 10 or 12 teams. Now we're over 25, 26, 27, 8 teams here. So I think the the quality has definitely improved. I think they're attracting more quality players from overseas, and they're definitely getting to a level that's much better every year. I would also say that as much as they're improving, they can't really compete with the European competition. But that's not their fault, right? So you're talking about a league that's been around for 25 years compared to leagues and teams that have been around for hundreds of years.
Yeah.
And they have tradition in that sense. So I do believe that the visibility of MLS is growing. And obviously the quality and the product is growing. But, if a player still today, if they want to be the best player that they can be, I would suggest they go to Europe to play for the best teams. That's my opinion. But I played all my career in Europe, so I'm a little biased about this.
That's true. So we have here another question So we have here Chai Joki. Oguchi, what's your take on African football? You are an American with Nigerian background. How do you see African football now, especially with the likes of Sadio Mane, Mo Salah, and more shining in Europe?
Yeah, I mean, with Mane and Salah, it's nothing new. African football has always been amazing. So it's not just they're creating it, or they're actually a continuation of
Yeah.
what African football has always been. You know, if you look at even in the '90s, Yakini, and then after that,
Yeah.
you have there's so many Nigerians that I could just throw
I,
out.
I have to tell you three because I had the chance to. They are fantastic, and I was interviewing them in the past. Emmanuel Amunic, that
Yeah.
also played in Sporting.
Yeah.
He was actually the first player that I scouted ever. I was a young kid, and I saw him playing. It's because of him that I'm a scout. And George Finidi also,
Yeah.
that he was a legend for Ajax,
Mhm.
and also Tayo that played for AC Milan also and Marseille. So
You can say so many. There was Kanu. There was how many?
JJ Okocha, Sunday
Yeah.
Oliver, so
Yeah.
many. Yeah.
Even for Senegal, then you have Drogba, Ivory Coast. You have, I mean, there's Africa has produced some of the world's best talents ever in football, and I don't think it's just started now. I'm happy to see that they're continuing, and I'm glad to see the growth of Salah and Mane at Liverpool. But for me, it's not new. Right. I don't think the world thinks that, oh, now Africa has talent. Africa will always have talent, the best talents in the world. It's just a matter of the world being able to identify them and showcase them on a bigger stage. And that's going to be the complication, or that's the challenge, to find all of the talent in Africa and take them and bring them to Europe or bring them to other leagues that they can showcase their talent.
For sure. Thank you for that. And Chajoki, thank you for your question. And I also invite you to watch, because I did some episodes about African football specifically, and I'm gonna keep doing, because I think it's very interesting. The African players are great, like you said, great skills in terms. I think the future is in the African football. Also, the football players there are very complete, and we should look, because there are so many countries producing so many good players, and it's always interesting to talk. And soon I'll have more former African players or coaches here. So thank you again. So we were talking about the strikers, and you've been talking also about Cristiano Ronaldo, but let's go to another position that it can be crucial also. All of them are crucial, but one that is important for and I would like to see, I like your opinion, how you see that. It's goalkeeper. Do you think a goalkeeper, like a goalkeeper that can transmit confidence to you, that is charismatic, efficient, and is a leader, that is playing behind you, it changed in your subconscious when you are playing? It changed something when you know that at your back it's a goalkeeper that and you played with many, so it makes a change when it's a good goalkeeper.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. Nobody wants to play with a bad goalkeeper, right?
Yeah.
And ultimately, if you're playing on a solid team, you won't need your goalkeeper maybe one or two times in the game, right, to make a big save. And it's the goalkeepers that in those one or two times that that they can perhaps save a goal that they shouldn't save. If that makes sense. Like a lot of times, okay, you should catch the ball, but the ones that are great, that make the saves that you don't expect them to make, that gives confidence in your defense, saying, okay, I have an extra line of protection. We can play freely because this person's behind us and they will cover us. So it definitely gives an extra feeling of confidence when you're playing, if you can rely on your goalkeeper. But ultimately, no team wants to have to rely on their goalkeeper to win games, right? But the ones that that can do so are the ones that they make the big bucks.
Yeah, that's completely true. And can you name one, if you can name one that you had a chance to play along with in this case,
Yeah,
that
a
could
lot.
allow you almost to take your couch to the pitch and you could be there like in the
Yeah,
couch because you knew
there's a
that.
lot. There was Vedran Runye at
Yeah,
Liège. There was Casey Keller, Tim Howard with the national team, Dida, you know, what other ones? Rui Patricio in
yeah,
Sporting, obviously, so these were some strong goalkeepers, but they were playing for strong teams, so you expect
yeah.
them to be
Sure.
this kind of level. But they definitely gave me the extra confidence to be able to play without fear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. Thank you for that. So we are almost finishing. So what advice can you leave to younger players, especially center backs like you, and any specific advice on something that you only had the chance to learn later on during your career, and that you thought that if you could learn before, it was better.
Definitely that lesson that I told you about what Pacienza told me,
That
but
whole thing, yeah, yeah,
I would also say that for central defenders, any player really, you have to understand that in terms of your position, you're not special, right? So I wasn't special. There was millions of central defenders. There's millions of goalkeepers. There's millions of midfielders and millions of strikers. But what sets you apart, what makes you different, you decide that. What makes you different, right? Because there has to be something, maybe even one thing that is going to make a coach say, okay, I want him instead of him.
yeah.
What is that one thing that makes you so much special? And I would say find that, make it great, because that's what's going to always shine first whenever a scout like yourself or a club team or a coach looks at you, watches you. That's my advice.
And that's a fantastic advice. Thank you for that.
Mhm.
So thank you very much, Oguchi, for being here with us. It's been a real pleasure and talking to you. And thanks for sharing your knowledge, most of all, and to be open for it. And I wish you all the success in the world with your projects. Okay, and be sure that I'm gonna keep listening and watching also your podcast because it's also you can watch it on YouTube. And I don't know if I would like also you to talk a bit more about if you can tell people the name of your podcast and also the other projects where they can find you so they can follow also your work.
Yeah, sure. The podcast that I'm with the former professional player DeMarcus Beasley is called The Crack Podcast, and you can find that on Instagram or Twitter on The Crack Podcast at The Crack Podcast. My company is called Onyx Elite, and you can find that on social media at Onyx_Elite. And we are basically a sports performance, general fitness company, and we hold professional soccer combines to help professional athletes find teams, find clubs, find agent representatives as well. So there's just the little things I'm trying to do. Maybe one day in the near future, I'll be the general manager at a Portuguese club, maybe Sporting. I don't know. We'll see. But these are what I'm doing right now to try and stay involved in the game.
Sure, thank you, and that's amazing coming from a person like you, and with that knowledge, and also with the example that you give to the others, and that's very important. Honest people in football, and should always stay in football because people need more. Football needs more people like you. So, guys, watch the podcast. The podcast, I can assure you that Oguchi is much better than me doing this. So you guys will enjoy a lot. Thank you also to all of you for being watching again, and share it with your friends and to all your friends that love this amazing sport. So see you soon, and take care and be safe. Okay, thank you very much. Take care. Thank you. Bye.